All right, good morning. It's 9:03 a.m. We'll call this meeting Wichita County Commissioners Court to order. There's three items on there. One is to review and take action on direct payment of the payroll claims. Number two is discuss, consider, and take action to approve the expenses of out-of-county travel to Collin County for the JP software demonstration for up to 8 people, which is now down to, I think, 5 going. and a cost of $2,500. And item 3 is discuss, consider, take action on the proposed ambulance contract. We don't have a final contract on that, but I will tell you all what's going on that, and be sure we're all up to date on that. Ms. Judy, you have anything to present to us?
I just wanted to draw your attention to a change. First of all, I attached one of these little cards to your packet today. These will go out in the pay envelopes this week. They have all of the benefit contact numbers on these front and back. So hopefully people will open their pay envelopes and find it.
Is there an email going to tell them to look for that?
We were going to print something on the outside of the envelope, but the email probably is a good
All
idea.
email users, all of it will help. There will still be those that can't find their lottery ticket, you know, and they know it was the winning one.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I made a little change on the headings of a couple of the sheets. On this overtime summary, I made a separate heading line that shows the period that the overtime was earned, and then underneath it, the period that the overtime was paid. Just kind of made it a little more clear as to what date we were actually talking about on that form. I did the same thing on the sheriff's summary that has color printing. So I changed the heading on that, and I realized also that I had some mismatches between the period that the overtime was earned and the average jail population that we were reporting on that. So I've matched up those columns correctly now, so you should have the jail population should match the period that the overtime was earned. I think when we started delaying the overtime by 2 weeks, we didn't catch up to that. So that should be an accurate description there. Also on your totals for each department and for the report, I have added finished adding the like if you look at the bottom on page 2, you've got the totals there for Department 560. You've got the total overtime, which is detailed above. Then you have just the total for the holiday hours and the total for the regular hours of that period. So you can see the total hours that were used to support that function. I had some of those put in there last time, but not all of them. So
That's very good, Judy. Very helpful.
Thank you. That's all I have for you.
Judy, when you say here overtime cost per inmate, page 7 of 7 on the spreadsheet of overtime and total hours. Is that a cost per pay period?
That is the cost. That is the cost for that pay period, and it varies widely because that is only calculated on the overtime hours, and in those periods where there's a holiday, those hours are split up, so it makes that average jump around.
But it's a cost only for a 2-week period.
That's correct.
So like on this one is $121.44. That's what it cost us over that 2-week period in overtime per inmate.
That's correct.
Okay. What, guys, what is driving the overtime on Will? Because your regular time hours are staying flush.
Yeah,
But your overtime hours have jumped 800.
I've got some, this is, as of yesterday, our openings that we have, and includes OJI, I've got
Thank
3 in the middle school, and do you need a copy of this?
I can get one to
We got 1 FMLA, 3 jail school, and 12 openings, so that's 18 positions. So in a 2-week period, just to fill those positions, it's costing us $1,440. It's not like patrol, if someone calls in sick, we don't have to make up that position. But
Yeah.
If someone calls in sick or takes vacation in jail, we have to fill that position just for minimum staffing. We don't have any extra staffing each day. So we need just the minimum staffing. So when we're this short, we're talking about 1,440 hours for a 2-week period just in overtime. Just for the shortages before we start filling in sick time, vacation time.
You all had mentioned utilizing some of the resources possibly that are jailers out of patrol.
And some are starting to work, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Some of the guys are starting to sign up on their days off to work in the jail. I don't know. I know 3 or 4 different ones that have done that, helping some, and we're just going to have to try to get more.
But that's at a higher rate of
It's a
overtime.
higher rate of overtime.
Could we not use some of their regular time?
That's what we're looking at now. That's what we just started discussion yesterday. Me and Chief Choate discussed that yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, not drastically, but look at what we could do. And then, we had 2 days this week. I noticed we still had our security deputies on, but all the courts except mine were closed, and I don't usually have anybody. I don't need them.
Okay, I don't usually keep up with Lieutenant Penalina's staffing or how he does that,
Okay.
and with the extras when they have extras. But surely when we do have extras, we can look at that, because I believe all of them are jailers, with the exception of maybe Morgan.
Is Daniels, Ed Daniels?
I'm sure he's got his jail license.
Yeah, he probably did since he had a jail at one time.
Well, he probably hasn't worked in jail in a few
Oh, okay.
years.
All
So,
right.
but I'm sure he has a jail license. I mean, we could utilize him somewhere. And we're even looking at, pulling other deputies from other sections when we have the manpower to put them over there at the regular pay.
Yes, sir.
So, we had one quit this week and basically said, because we're working them to death. And,
There was a jailer.
the jailer just walked up and just up and quit. Was it Monday? Yeah, Monday. So, and that's another position. And we've got 2 or 3 who've already given notices that will be leaving in the next few weeks,
Yeah.
going to other jobs.
Is that, well, you all mentioned once you were losing people to service for more pay. I pulled up the military pay charges. I thought maybe I had missed some.
We've lost a few to the military, but a lot. We've got one going to state hospital, several going to the hospital to work, just other jobs.
Yeah,
Several
okay.
have gone to the railroad to work.
Yeah, the railroad or the oil field right now. Railroad.
I've got to stand up. I got sick.
I know.
Problem.
Has Lisa told you about the backpack she adopted? It's an ice pack. I've got one in the freezer if you want to
Okay.
try it.
I'll try it then. Yeah.
Now,
Take medicine, but
Lisa can put the little elastic band around her. It'll work. It will not work on you or me.
probably not.
No. Okay.
So we've got 3 that started last week, and for the first 2 weeks, those 3 have to shadow somebody. So we're having to pay them, but we're not really getting to count them as a body.
Yeah.
We've got as many as maybe 7 starting next week. It just takes a while to get that processed.
Get them,
And the first 2 weeks they're on the job, they're shadowing somebody, and we just can't get to that even close to a caught up point right now.
Okay. Well,
We're trying.
yeah, we all
We're
appreciate
even talking
that.
about trying to get a job fair for March, and then set it up where they can do most of the stations in one day, and then with just a little bit after that, we can maybe move quite a few through quicker at a time, at one time. So,
Great.
we're looking at all options to try to get those positions filled, because I know we're working these guys hard, so.
Yeah, they like the paycheck, but then they
Well,
don't have time
you
to
start
spend
working
it.
20 hours or 25 hours overtime,
Yeah.
you're actually barely getting your minimum pay, because taxes go up and you still got your retirement coming out of it and everything else. So, certain points, you really don't really make that much more in overtime. I mean, you're making money, but you're not making that time and a half. So I guess I'm saying you're getting closer to your regular time. You get too many hours in overtime, and then that was my experience. Every time I've worked more than 10 or 12 hours overtime, it's like, well, it just took more out. So, because you work more hours, make more money. But, we're doing everything we can to get that filled.
Okay. All right.
That's why the number, we started out with, we were going to send 12 to the jail school, because we got it from a year time they start, we got to get them through jail school. They have a year temporary license. We started was going to send 12, and then we knocked it down to 9, and as you can see, we knocked it down to 3. Those
Right.
guys had to have it in before the year was up.
Correct.
So we're going to have to run more jail schools this year to get everybody that needs their license, but we'll just have to do smaller schools. Which
Okay.
when we do that, then it ties up the guys training them.
Right.
So.
And then we go back to that deal that Derek said last year we wouldn't have to do that, so we could cut $60,000. We're going to head towards that $60,000 in
Okay.
additional money for training.
You got me on that one. I don't know. No, we're using on the training. We're using, like Rowdy will teach some, and Sergeant Gonzalez and Officer Peeler will teach some. Lieutenant Bonner teaches it some. Some of the supervisors out of the jail will come teach it, and they'll just use that as their day of work. So, but we still, we still got to take and give and take on that. But we
Okay.
got to get them through school. Their licenses ain't good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like juggling hand grenades with a pin pulled on a few of them. Yeah.
Hope we keep it focused.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Chief. Any other comments or questions on the item? Gee, we do appreciate the additional analysis. Commissioners, is there a motion then to?
So moved, Judge.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Beecham, to approve the payroll as presented. Any other comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 3-0. Item 2 is discuss, consider, take action to approve all expenses for the county travel to Collin County for a JP software demonstration for up to 8 people at a cost of up to $2,500 to be paid by transfer from the Tyler travel budget as assigned by the county auditor. Mr. Crutchfield, do you have anything else on that? I know you were talking to Terry.
Judge, they want to go down and see how they do magistration
Okay.
all the way through at an active county.
Okay. I will be going, 2 of the JPs and Ms. Weitenheimer, I think that's it. I think there's only,
So Sam's going to go.
oh, is Sam going to go?
Someone from my office will go.
Okay, do they have a reservation at that hotel yet? Do they want to ride with me because we need to group the vehicles together?
Double check, but we
Okay.
have planned on someone from my office going. So.
Okay. I'm going to plan on leaving somewhere around 4 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay.
So let me know.
All right, sir. We'll do.
It depends on how long the thing I have before that runs as to
Okay.
when I get out of there.
Okay.
You're just standing, aren't you, Chief?
Sir,
Okay. I'll be glad to let you try that.
she says she knows that one. It's down in the office.
Oh, okay. Well, mine's already cold. Oh, okay, all right, good enough. I use them for, yard work and stuff like that, or they sure help out, so, okay. Any other questions on this item? Okay, can I have a motion then to approve? Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the item as stated. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 3-0. Item 3 is to discuss, consider, and/or take action on the proposed ambulance service contract. That is being worked on. Meredith had been working with the city attorney on that. The biggest change in the ambulance contract is we are not going to participate with any payment. And they've added an ambulance. We've reviewed the response times. The only thing we gave additionally to them was allowing that an ambulance can have up to 250,000 miles on it instead of 200,000 miles on it. They are going to have the dispatch actually will come out of Dallas. Both bidders had remote dispatch, so there wasn't room to change that. They will keep, if something happens to the connection between here and Dallas, they have the ability to take over here and do that.
But that 911 call now will go to Dallas, right?
It'll get transferred. It
To
doesn't.
Dallas, yeah.
Yeah,
It goes to the dispatch first, and then asks for ambulance, and they route it to the ambulance.
yeah.
It go to Dallas, and then Dallas calls back here and dispatches the ambulance.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything goes to the call center on Flood Street first, and then it goes from there.
It's got the things we got in there for inspection. It's got the penalty times in there. The only partner we don't know yet how they're going to get it worked out is Shepherd. They still have a contract with AMR that they're only backup, but I don't think Shepherd has an ambulance service operating anymore. So and the time consideration on that, it was not how they got to the person needing the ambulance, but to the front gate, because you don't know how long it's going to take to get through that front gate and what they're going to have on that. Chief, anything else? Any comments on that?
You get it, Mike.
Oh, okay, thank you.
My only question is, when the ambulance service runs to the jail, is it unlimited number of trips to the jail? We have to pay for each and every trip?
It doesn't address that in there. Traditionally, they have not charged us for that.
Okay.
But since we're not paying anything for it, that's one of the questions I have to get answered.
Okay, that was
Yeah.
my question. Are we paying for every trip? Because last month we had quite a few go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So I didn't know we paid for every trip, or if it's just whatever goes, and we don't get charged for it.
Well, it's kind of like the hospital doesn't charge us for the bed, but we pay for its physician's
Yes, sir.
services
Okay.
on an inmate in there. But I will check that out, but I'm going to bet we can come up with the same thing we've had, no charge.
Okay, thank you. That's the only question I had.
All right, thanks. You all have any, I'll get you, as soon as I get a good draft on that, I'll get you all copies of that, but.
Now, Judge, too, another thing then concerning to me, because I stumbled across this yesterday inadvertently in my own business, but I'm under the impression that January the 1st, there were new drug parameters set for DOT drivers that now test opioids, and that obligation falls to the driver to report those to us. So let's say I put a hand behind the wheel that has a doctor prescribed prescription, but that prescription could be considered a hindrance. How are we, or what have we done to accommodate or to acknowledge that?
Well, like you, this is the first time I've heard of that. I know we had tried to deal with that on something prior to the end of last year, and it's somewhat vague. We may need to see what kind of advice we can get out of Michelle Arsenault, and might call her and explain that to her and see what they're dealing with it, because the number of counties they insure and do those programs with.
But, I mean, I guess a case could be made that if we test our DOT drivers, half of them could be test positive for drugs, but yet none of them would be on illegal drugs.
Right, they're taking prescription drugs that, well, I think that's going to be maybe a thing. They can prescribe the opioids. If they take them like they're supposed to, the doctor might say, as long as they follow the regimen prescribed, they're fine. But we know one of the problems with the opioids is they tend to get overtaken. And I don't know how in the lab test they can tell what level, how that level should be. But may have to look at whether someone should be driving a vehicle or not.
If it is a cautionary label, it's the way I understand it, it's the driver's duty to report that they are taking the medication that is labeled precautionary.
And that's the way I understood it, yet I had questions, what if they didn't? Who's liable?
Well,
So he runs a stoplight because he's a little high, kills mom and both kids. Is it liability on him or liability on us?
yes. Who has the bigger pockets? Where would
Yeah.
you go?
To me, that seemed kind of dangerous. But how else do you come to the knowledge?
Well, you don't, but you remind your people that if they have any kind of a caution warning drug that they're taking, they need to inform the commissioner or the foreman or both. And then maybe I ought to say to them, hey, you need to get something from your doctor that says whether they feel you're safe to drive or not. If the doctor won't give him that, then you have to modify the work plan. But whether that's driving a vehicle or operating a piece of heavy equipment.
Yeah.
And, if they are impaired enough by that taking, then they have to take sick leave until they can actually safely come back to work. So I'll get used to it.
Will, you got my back hurting now.
Well, it's not so much the back, it's the sciatic nerve going down.
Oh, me, that's never good.
I have some stretches for that. I have some stretches I can show you for that.
Nancy will hang you upside down from the door on her hooks.
We could try out the new garage door and see if it's...
Yeah.
Here next week.
Okay. All right. Good enough. Anything else? I just did want to make one other little announcement. I sent an email out to all elected officials, department heads. The University Kiwanis Club is having a candidate forum, and Senator Estes and Representative Fallon are speaking there. They have actual questions to answer. They have been reminded this is not the time for personal attack campaign junk. So they had got the questions Sunday night. They've had time to develop some substantive answers, and I will hold them to that. But that will be video streamed starting about 12:20 on KAUZ TV. Yes, sir. You can download their phone app from KAUZ and watch it on your phone. I put in the notice to please not everybody at noon go on that on the internet. Sorry, George has left, but I would think it could impede or impair our system. Yeah, so
Where's it being held at?
it's at Luby's, but it's members only of the University Kiwanis, Wichita Falls, and Kiwanis and the Lions Club. we're afraid we couldn't afford all those people wanting to come eat lunch and think we're paying for it. Yeah,
You're paying for it,
yeah. So, at any rate, but I think that ought to be the most substantive thing we've seen out of the campaign so far.
We'll get the plug replaced in 78th Court.
Yes, sir. Never got a request for that. Yeah. I did have a little discussion that night, the person saying,
I'm sure he did.
well, no work order ever turned in by anyone. You know, which is, boy, it's unfortunate, but I've yet to be on a commissioner's court yet that has psychic phenomena capabilities. If we don't know about it, we can't fix it. Side question on, Senior, did you see the emails I found last night and sent that had that's the information we used. That's the best I've got. So we can see how they've done on that. But what they can't do is just tell us they've done all of it. We need to have, you have,
Yeah, we had. I'll just keep this.
yeah, you ought to hang on to it.
One of the things we were looking at were the visits to the nurse and visits to the doctor, and we were just getting a small amount. Last week, we received 140 charge slips compared to 30 or 40 we were getting each week. And compared to what the DOs noted going to the doctor or nurse compared to the sheets, there were six difference of 6. So
Oh, that's
quite a bit. 'Cause
quite an
before
improvement.
we would have 40 or 50 that weren't getting sheets turned in when they should have had sheets turned in, or more that we didn't know about. So they have corrected that, and that's making a difference. So
No, I applaud what you all did to have that lady come in to the outside that has a medical background. That was a great move.
I don't think we've talked to her since she was here on that meeting that day, so she ought to be coming back pretty quick with an update. Okay. So she's,
Okay, when we do it, let's do more of a listing. The pie charts are great, but they don't tell you the details, so we need
okay.
each of her findings needs to be,
We'll remind her to do it that way.
yeah, so that we can come up with that.
Okay.
It's all exciting to look at it, but it isn't, it's
It's
hard for
pretty.
them to correct a pie chart.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. It is 9:30, and we're adjourned.